All right, what's going on, guys? It is your boy TKD1 here, back here in Blazing Source, and we are doing something. We are recording Road to Part 2, the weekly Last of Us and Last of Us Part 2 podcast dedicated to all things about those two games. And with me, of course, my luxurious co-host, Arachknight. How are you, good sir?
I'm doing well. How are you?
I'm doing good. I did tell you that I did partake in a surprise party for one of the friends last night. Still maintaining social distancing as much as we could. You know what I'm saying? So it was like a small little get together, and your boy's a little hungover today, unfortunately. So,
Ooh.
yeah, like this monitor's bright lights, kind of give me a little migraine. I'm just getting old, man. I felt it this morning, bro. Getting up, just gotta do something.
Yeah.
Bro. How are you, good sir? How are you? Let me not complain about being hungover.
No, I'm good. Only thing I drink is water.
That sounds great. I was going back and forth because I'll like have a drink, have a glass of water.
Yeah.
I always go back and forth nowadays. But I guess last night I went a little bit too hard. Well, how has your week been? I know things have been pretty interesting to say the least out there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The week has been eventful, both personally and in the world around me.
Yes.
I think we can all say that within these last few months.
Indeed. And speaking of, I got some comments on some videos this week about, why are you promoting Black Lives Matter? Stick to games. Me personally, I just don't think, saying that Black Lives Matter is a political statement. So, indeed, as well as in this description of this podcast, you can donate to Black Lives Matter down below in the description. The first link on there. If you got a problem with it, you can unsub. If you got a problem with it, you can leave the channel. You can leave the Discord. Yeah. That's just how I take it. And that's pretty much the extent of what I'm gonna go off of on that. You know what I'm saying? But if you have any further thoughts, feel free.
The fight against institutionalized racism should not be a controversial take.
And I'm gonna have to agree.
If you feel as if there is something you don't know and don't understand, it's not the responsibility of those around you and online to educate you. So do yourself a favor, read into it, read both sides, see where you stand, and understand the topics that you are so vehemently against before you discuss them. Or else you make yourself sound uneducated, ignorant, and stupid.
Yeah. Would you look at that? This might be a controversial stance, my boy, but I'm gonna have to agree with that notion. If I may.
It shouldn't be controversial. It should not be. Yeah.
Oh man. Well, hey, so shout out Black Lives Matter, of course. Yep. Black Lives. I almost said Black Ops Matter last night. I'm like, Kev, what the hell? I'm like, hello.
Black Ops Cold War coming out this year.
I know. I was like, shoot. I'm like crossing the movements. You know what I'm saying? But I digress. # Black Lives Matter. Link below in the description if you would like to donate. We had a great come out on the last episode of The Last of Us main story recap stream we did this Wednesday, and we were taking donations via super chats, as well as super stickers, and there's a link in the description if you wanted to donate directly to Black Lives Matter. We had a great turnout. We have now as of right now, I don't know if it's going to go up more because I might do another stream tonight, but we tripled the amount donated at $250 from PlayStation Source. You gotta love it. Thank you for all that came out and all that it showed support to a good cause that I don't feel is controversial to support under any circumstances.
It's not. If you have any issues regarding the beginning of this podcast, I'd love to reiterate. We're both of us are people of color hosting this podcast, and if you have an issue with it, then you kind of have an issue with us, and I don't really care.
Yeah, I mean, number one, I don't care.
Yeah,
if you have an
don't
issue,
care. Still don't care.
I don't care. don't care.
Yeah.
And number two, you know, you can see yourself out of the content because I don't even want you as a supporter of PlayStation Source if you ain't supporting the most basic of human rights for a group of people. So that's how the cookies cut. You know what I'm saying? But what?
That's how it would be.
What have you been? That is how it would be. But what have you been playing this week, Orly? Oh wait, actually, last time we did a little podcast. Last episode, you were saying that you were prepping to go on a little camping trip. You know.
Yes.
And you got a little game. You have any follow up thoughts on that?
So the trip was boring.
That's a bit unfortunate.
Yeah, no. Things got closed like right as we got there. Like they're like, oh yeah, it'll be open. So everything we had originally planned on doing, like just all the hiking trails got closed. Like everything around like that got closed. It's like, oh yeah, you can do a whole lot of nothing right now.
Interesting.
So I did play a lot of Final Fantasy VII.
You love to see it. And this was on the Nintendo Switch, and it was the I guess quote unquote remastered. Yes. In terms of like there's like I mean if you want to speak to the differences you may. My bad. I don't mean to talk over you.
No, of course. I understand. I did a lot of research into both PS4 and Switch, and like the deciding factor between the two was just because I was going on the trip and I knew I would need something to do. There is no difference between the PS4 version and the Switch version to the extent of my knowledge. They both have the speed up function. They both have the, hey, if you don't feel like grinding thing, you can just press the button.
So what does it skip exactly? Like, is it just like summoning animations or like what is it skipping?
No, there's a button that you can press that'll just like automatically heal you and give you full limit.
Oh, really?
Yeah, so if you don't feel like grinding for the big bosses at the end of the game, you can just, press the button.
Interesting. Okay.
And there's a speed up button that speeds up the game by 3 times.
Gotcha. Okay.
Because some of the animations are very slow, and I was like, yeah, no, I don't need to speed up. I'll play it the way that it was supposed to be played. And then it took like 30 seconds to climb down a ladder. It's like, all right.
Yeah, I see. Yeah, because like obviously not the original Final Fantasy VII, but I'm also playing, of course, playing through Crisis Core, and I'm at a point where I have met a boss that like, all right, I'm gonna need to do some of these missions. These like little side missions that I can access via my menu and start ranking up, and start getting stronger materia, ranking up Zack, you know what I'm saying? And I've been noticing there in that process, like it's still quick. I don't feel like it's like as slow as can be, but there's definitely some parts and some animations where I'm like, man, I really wish that, this didn't take a good 15 seconds every time,
Yeah.
Like that may not sound a lot in real time, but in game time, having something take 15 seconds without your input is a lot. So I definitely
an example I like to use is for those of us who play shooters, ADS time.
Precisely.
Like it's like, oh yeah, 2 seconds. Like it takes 2 seconds longer than the other one, and it's like, oh, it's just 2 seconds. Who cares? In any other scenario, but like 2 seconds in a shooter is death.
Yeah, that or even sprint in, sprint out time if we're getting a little bit more technical into, first person shooter games or even third person, I guess, as well can be affected. But like the amount of time it takes for your character to go out of animation and into a state where they are prepared and ready to shoot, that can also, vary with timing. So like definitely I get what you're saying here for sure. But like I'm not really fully grasping as to like what is exactly getting sped up, right? I think I just need to like go
everything
and play
in
it.
game.
Yeah,
everything in game.
So is it literally just like okay? So is it literally just like hitting like fast forward like on like a DVD or whatever? Damn.
Yeah, menus and important game cutscenes, not like full FMV cutscenes, but like just like like in-game cutscenes, the menus,
Okay.
and all
Interesting.
that. Like text gets sped up, but you have to press a button
Uh-huh.
to move from text box to text box, so it'll pop up almost instantly, but you can read it and then just press the button again.
Gotcha. Okay, I see. I see. So, speaking a little bit more about Final Fantasy VII, right? You know, of course, from a perspective of like how has it aged? Of course, there's been quality of life. You know, things that have been implemented with, of course, that fast forward feature that you just talked about, and I'm assuming like a bunch of other stuff as well. But do you feel that like the original Final Fantasy VII holds up to today, and like how are you generally enjoying it?
The story is phenomenal. The gameplay, I'm digging the turn base. Like, it's not my favorite thing in the world, but I was perhaps too harsh on it because when I was younger, I was a lot more impatient.
Okay.
So through time and other games, like I am enjoying the turn-based combat a lot more than I believed I would.
Right. Right. I see.
So
I see.
it's a good time. The pacing is completely different from the remake. Like there are some missions that just don't exist in classic compared to remake.
Yeah. Right. 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 Okay. So wait. So I'm assuming that you've passed the Midgar section. I believe is what the remake covers.
I'm just about at that point.
Okay. Gotcha. Okay. I see. I see. Interesting.
Yeah. So yeah, no, and that only took a few hours, opposed to the 40 hours it took me to leave in the remake.
Yeah. 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 Definitely. Definitely. Yeah. Definitely. Definitely. Huh. But overall, 2 thumbs up because I am definitely gonna play it. We have both talked about it a lot. I'm, I'm eventually I am going to play Final Fantasy 7. I just want a little bit of space in between that and the remake, and I want to get a little bit closer towards the part 2 remake we eventually get. But I don't know if we're gonna have to hold it. Like I feel like I might just jump into it like after Ghost of Tsushima or something like that. I don't know. We'll see. We will see. But glad to hear you're enjoying it.
Mm-hmm.
Anything else you've been playing, or is that just kind of just the only thing you've been grinding?
Just like I don't know with these for lack of a better phrase, trying time. Like it's good to touch base on games that give you like your happy games, for lack of a better phrase. Again, like the games that you go to when you need some time to just like play something you enjoy and take a breather from everything going on. Because like I've been playing Spider-Man PS4. I've been playing Doom.
Right. Of course.
Of course. And a lot of Modern Warfare and classic Black Ops.
I see. Oh, classic Black Ops. You gotta love it.
Yeah.
You gotta love it.
Yeah. Some friends and I have all been playing a lot of zombies.
That's hot. That's hot.
Yeah.
That's very, very hot. You excited for Black Ops Cold War, inevitably? That's being announced at some point here pretty soon.
I don't know what to expect. I haven't seen or heard much. But depending on how it is, like if it's like Modern Warfare, I'll definitely pick it up because like Modern Warfare really brought my love back into the series.
Right.
I haven't bought a main Call of Duty game or just any Call of Duty game since Black Ops 2.
Interesting. Wow. Okay, so you've
Yeah.
Well, you jumped out at a pretty good time, I'd say.
Yeah. No, I jumped right before all the garbage.
Yeah. But at least to end off a little bit of that talk. The CODs, I believe, moving forward, I know for sure this Black Ops Cold War title that is coming out this year that is being developed by Treyarch. Originally, it was being developed by Sledgehammer Games, but then Sledgehammer Games just couldn't. For some reason, they just couldn't, work together with Raven. For some reason, so then Treyarch had to step in and finish out this COD. It is a Cold War era COD and everything, but the really cool thing about it that you just mentioned as well, that you're probably gonna like to hear, is that at least for this next COD, and I believe all future CODs as well, will be developed off of the basis of the Infinity Ward engine that they use in Modern Warfare this year. So
love to hear it.
yeah, so they are all going to be streamlining and using that same engine moving forward. So it may feel very similar.
Idea.
Yeah. So it may feel similar to Modern Warfare. So you might enjoy that for sure.
Last thing I want to touch on,
yes.
I've had a lot of time in quarantine and all that to practice and get good.
Truly.
Your boy went 34-4 with just a Car 98 last night in multiplayer. Let's go.
Let's get it. You'd love to see it. But
you'd love to see it. Sign me up, FaZe. Cloud9. I'll be here.
I'm right here chilling. I'm right here. Man, I've been playing a lot. I haven't been playing a ton. But I have still been grinding Crisis Core because I hit a point, as I said before earlier in this episode, where I'm gonna have to go do those side missions because I've been trying to just gold path the game,
Yeah.
But I did reach a point where I'm like, okay, this enemy's too strong. Gotta go back. Gotta get my HP up. You know what I'm saying? Get better materia. So I've been doing that, ranking up my individual different materia as well, right? Getting that, trying to get that Firaga. All I have is Fira.
Ooh.
You know what I'm saying? Trying to, I got Kira a few days ago. But
need that.
absolutely. Oh, especially in Crisis Core. Oh my God, especially in Crisis Core for sure. There's like a lot of bosses that when they do a special move, where by the way they have their own animation for, so that is another like 8 seconds as well. 8-10 seconds. But they nick off like either it's a one-hit kill or it's like pretty much 3/4 of your health. Like Jesus. Straight up, yeah. Like they hit pretty hard in Crisis Core. But overall, I'm still enjoying the game. I'm still loving the game. It is crazy, like how this game existed back in 2000 and I think 8. It came out. I think 2007, something like that. Well, whatever the PSP, was the main console. Like it was around 2007, 2008, I think. But it's really jarring to think sometimes. Like man, like I'm playing this on a PlayStation Portable. Because like. There's so many different environments in the game, and yeah, they're very limited in scale, but the sheer amount of different landscapes in Crisis Core and the amount of like lore and content and like story that's in here, it's cool, man. It's a really, really cool experience. I cannot wait for you to finally play it and everything, because it's a really, really neat game. Like, and I was reading up on like some articles that were released around the time of Crisis Core when it first launched, and a lot of people were touting this game as the best game on PSP, and I totally see that. Like there's so much in this game, it's great. It's really, really good, and I love how the side missions kind of treat it like a portable game while still having elements of like a full fleshed out game of like a console experience, because you can quickly access the side aspects of the game to rank up your character and stuff like that super quickly. You can only do it over a save point in the game. But I think that like is intentional, because then you can just save whatever you're done doing a few side missions and stuff like that, and retain your whole work and not have it be flushed away or whatever. Like it's just a really, really neat way to give you side missions without it being somewhere like physical in the world that you have to travel to. It just makes it a little bit more better to nick off a few side missions here and there before you head off to your next main mission, which is an in-world location. You know what I'm saying? But it's been great. So but in another game I got really into recently, which I did buy the DLC for, is Assassin's Creed Odyssey.
Yeah, you've been
my
talking
boy.
about the game a lot, yeah.
I loved it back in 2018, and I love it now 2 years later, yo. I did purchase the DLC, so that will be started here in a little bit. But what I did this week was no small task. So I was looking at my cultists, right? So cultists are like essentially like high value targets in other games. I believe like Hitman has something like that. But there's I want to say there's like maybe 6 or 8 I think there's 8 branches, 5 cultists per branch. Let's say like there's like over 50 cultists, right? and you know, uh, whenever you kill a cultist and you find him or her in the open world, they give you a clue to the next cultist, right? So it's kind of like a domino effect where you just gotta just keep working at it and working off of the latest clue you got to get to the next one, right? So
Right.
I did the task of completing and killing all of the cultists in the game, which, you know, granted, I did at certain points just like did not know what the clue was telling me, so I did go on guides and just say, hey, you know, how do I find, you know, the cultists under the Cult of Cosmos branch, whatever, and like did it that way, you know, which
Yeah,
I don't think that's
no,
big of a deal, like whatever, but it was very, very fun. Very, very cool. Assassin's Creed Odyssey is great. It's a very good game. I can't wait for Valhalla. And I can't wait to get to the DLC because it's also very shocking that like I'm, you know, over 60 hours in over the course of 2 years, to be fair, right? And like really what I mean by that is like, you know, the first time I was playing through it and it was like maybe a month and a half, 2 months straight. And then now it's been about 3 weeks or so, give or take. But over the course of those two time periods, I'm putting in over 60 hours of game, and I still want to play more. Like, this is straight. Like, Odyssey is straight up one of my favorite like one of my favorite games of all time, for sure. You know, for sure. I don't know where it ranks, but it's definitely like within top 5
Top
for
10.
sure.
Top 5.
It's probably top 5. Probably because man, I love Assassin's Creed Odyssey for sure. So it just got me hyped for Valhalla. But another game we're both definitely hyped for is, of course, The Last of Us Part 2. Bro, we're 2 weeks away.
2 weeks.
2 weeks, bro.
Doesn't feel real.
2 weeks. And then also, you know, some backdoor talk. Next week we are going to probably have to record on Friday. We'll figure it out. No worries. Mm-hmm. We'll discuss it. But because the embargoes go up next week, actually.
Ooh,
Yep.
yeah, we talked about that.
They do. So I definitely want to talk about that with you once we get on the road to part 2 episode for next week. But this week, we did get some previews that were out earlier in the week. They were able to talk about, I believe, a little bit before the State of Play gameplay demo that we got, as well as not going into anything else after what's it called? Shoot, I lost my train of thought. Nothing after the State of Play gameplay demo that ended right there. So it's a little bit before, and it ends during the gameplay demo. So again, no spoilers, obviously. You know what I'm saying? There was nothing spoiler talk here, but I did want to talk about a little aspect, actually 2 things that were brought up. The first one is the notion of the stalkers, which to me was the biggest takeaway out of the previews. I didn't see anything that was like completely groundbreaking in terms of what people were able to talk about in previews, but the stalkers were something that was crazy. So there's an element to them where apparently, Orly, they will crawl on the floor on all fours and not show up on listen mode. And with a direct quote, says, quote, "We have stalkers that are grown into the wall, and sometimes they're dead and nothing will happen. And sometimes they'll rip off the wall and charge at you."
Yeah, bring it on.
Yo.
Bring it on.
I can't wait to stream this. There's going to be so many good stream moments, bro. I can't wait. Oh my God.
Yeah, no, that'll be fun.
Those clips are going to be so funny. I can already tell. But yeah, that sounds horrifying. And that was something that Neil did not say during the State of Play. So, yeah.
I know that some of us were talking about it in the Discord yesterday around like a stealth gauge, like to see it's like, oh yeah, like this is how close you are to being detected, like the audio cue
Yes,
that we had in part 1.
Yeah, the like woo, like the whoosh thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But that, I don't know, like it feels like that contradicts what we're going to talk about in a moment around the accessibility.
Indeed. You know what? Let's just get right into it. Screw it. Let's go right into it. So
Yeah.
I want to read a few little excerpts that was given out. I believe. I don't know where the original source is. I'm reading off of the Push Square article, which can link below in the description if you want to read it for yourself. But I'm not sure if this is the primary source or if something else. If something else is the primary source, they don't link out to another article. So if it is from another source, then I apologize. But link below in the description. But I'm reading a little bit here just to give us the whole rundown on how they're going to tackle accessibility in the modern day, which, spoiler alert, is pretty good. The Californian developer's response has been to make practically everything in the anticipated sequel customizable. There are multiple difficulty levels ranging from the story-centric lightest all the way up to the hardcore survivor, and these can be tweaked entirely to your taste. You can adjust sports game-esque sliders to determine, for example, how much damage you take or how alert enemies are. Then there are the comfort options. It all starts relatively straightforward. You can alter the size of subtitles, enable colorblind filters, and resize the heads-up display, but these are just the basic toggles. You can also have the title automatically switch your weapon or completely reprogram the control layout to your personal preferences. And then we move into the area of accessibility. You can play practically the entire game using sound. Naughty Dog has implemented a range of audio triggers which will allow blind players to survey their surroundings, discover items, and eliminate their enemies. An incredible text-to-speech option means that any collectibles or interface items will be read aloud by the title. For those who are for those with partial blindness or other sight impairment issues, there's a high contrast mode that color codes the world, making the geometry gray while enemies are shown in red and allies in blue. You can also use the touchpad to zoom in on particular elements on screen, similar to how you would on a smartphone. Interesting. Wow.
That's incredible.
That is dope. I didn't even realize that. There's even an option to slow the action down. So if you don't have the motor function required to react quickly to intense encounters, you can enable slow mode, making the aiming during the combat more magnable. Wow, I'm an idiot.
Manageable?
It says manageable. I thought they were saying like the aiming will be like magnetized to a degree. I'm an idiot. I can't read that. Yeah, like a super intense aim assist. But in conclusion, I just can't read. It's an incredible suite of options, carefully divided into a series of preset categories and totally customizable. There's one last section here. Naughty Dog allows you to mix and match the things you want to use. So if you need additional audio cues but still feel comfortable with higher difficulty, that's totally fine. Even as veteran gamers, there's nothing here. Okay, there's something new here. So a lot of cool stuff here. I think what really caught us both off guard is the ability to use the touchpad as like a zoom in.
Yes.
That is a very neat way to use the touchpad for sure. I like that a lot. I really like that.
Like, I'm interested, like particularly interested for my playthrough, the slider difficulties.
Yeah.
I know another game had something similar to that. Was Dishonored 2, where you could go into a custom difficulty where it was harder than the hardest difficulty, and you could edit it any way you'd like to go from like extreme difficulties on some things and very easy on other difficulties, and have your own custom difficulty.
Right.
I want to do a playthrough with the hardest, like all sliders on the hardest they could be.
It sounds like it's going to be intense. Sounds like it's going to be very, very intense. Huh.
We're going to, yeah. Oh, you go.
I mean, I would like to try a blinds playthrough.
Yeah.
I mean, like literally blind.
Like blindfold, like Daredevil kind of playthrough.
Yeah. That's a great way to call it. Let's call it the Daredevil playthrough. Absolutely.
Yeah. I'll do you a bet right now.
What do you got?
If you can do a hardest to second hardest. I'll give you a little bit of range. Playthrough. Completely blind.
Wait,
I will
like Daredevil style?
Daredevil blindfold. Completely blind.
Okay.
You can take like I'll give you a time frame. I'll play through it myself and see how long it'll take me.
Okay.
And if you can do it, $100.
Like, I'm down, but like, now that I'm thinking about it, like, is it gonna be where when they say that, like, oh, hey, we had blind people, play through the game and everything, or play certain parts of the game, like, is that because they're used to being blind and they have, that's what I'm saying. Like, is that what they mean? Or they mean that, like, yo, like, because the audio is so good in this game, you could straight up play this, like, blindfolded,
I would assume it to be a kind of 360 audio kind of deal.
Right.
Where you could figure out where things are based on noises, like that good headsets typically do, and that movie theaters typically do.
Man, just thinking about it too. Like, if I was to stream blinds, like, I can't even read chat. Like, I don't know what's going on.
You can't read chat at all.
Yeah. Huh.
You could have someone in on the stream.
Oh, like in like a Discord call, maybe. Like,
yeah.
Okay.
And
okay.
like watching.
Okay. Yeah.
And watching the game through stream and
Right.
talking to you like through all that, like.
Okay.
Hardest difficulty, hardest to second hardest, and like either like I'll buy you any game of your choice or whatever. We could talk about it. I will, like, if you can do that on stream.
Okay.
We will discuss the payout.
All right. Here's what I want to say. Right. Let's decide this during the bets recap episode that we have when we both beat the game.
Yes.
All right. Because I want to at least play the game first and see how.
Yeah.
See what I'm getting into. You know what I'm saying?
Of course. Yeah.
So I'm not necessarily turning it down, but we will come back to that for sure. Because that
it is a Herculean task. Like, I understand the apprehension.
Because I'm definitely gonna straight call it the Daredevil playthrough. Like that's
Yeah.
what like 100%. That has to be the name of it. I see no other fit, quite personally.
Mm-hmm. It's a good name.
But I do like all these, choices. You know me, I love subtitles on anything and everything. So give me all those subtitles. Big fan of that. I feel like I'm gonna map certain things to the back buttons that I have for my DualShock 4. Maybe like, cause I usually have. Wait, let me hold it. I have X on my left back bumper. Well, if you're looking at it, it's the right. But when you're holding the controller naturally, it's the left button, if that makes sense. I know it's technically the right, but it's the left button when you're holding it. And the right button is O. And based off of the breakdown that I did, shout out that breakdown. Make sure to go check it out if you haven't. You know what I'm saying? It looks like I'll be crafting a lot with X. Oh wait, no, X is jump. No, the jumping is X, of course, and there was a lot of things that you craft or like make something when you're hovering over the limited HUD by holding down X. So it looks like I'll be using that a lot, and then O is just crouch, but we will have to see, because I definitely like how they essentially said here, you can reprogram the entire button layout, which I think is a phenomenal thing, and I wish that like a lot of games did that, because then, controls can no longer be a factor into if a game is good or bad, like we will never have bad controls anymore because you can just make them what you want,
Every game should have modifiable controls, and any game that doesn't is weak.
Weak. I agree.
Like, it sucks. Like, and even like I am perfectly able to use a controller. I am blessed to be able to use a controller and a keyboard and mouse, like design, like as functionally as possible, like as designed. But sometimes a boy just wants to hit control instead of seated crouch.
Talk that talk.
Yeah, like there's some games where just the controls make no sense and it like hurts your hands to play on like a keyboard and mouse.
Right.
Like it is like so any like fully customizable controls should be the standard.
I agree. I agree.
Like, and something that I wanted to talk about is that shout out to Naughty Dog, like for all of these like disabled like accessibility, like how they've implemented the way that anybody could play their game.
It's true. No, yeah, definitely. Like
What?
it's because I mean I honestly thought they were just going to just go over like the things that we have seen before, like in terms of like the sliders for the size of subtitles and color blindness settings and stuff like that. Like that's what I kind of thought they were gonna stop at, but we're talking about high contrast mode where the
Yeah.
whole landscape is just gray and blacks, but enemies are red and friendlies are blue. Like they really did a lot here. I agree. Yeah.
I really want to like mess around with it because something I just thought of just while like you were like talking about all that, like you could get some good photo mode shots with that.
Oh, bro, let's go.
Yeah, we'll
Oh,
see a lot
absolutely.
from Owen, I'm sure.
Honestly, I think them having, outing that, hey, like you can adjust, high contrast mode and color blindness, like the level of ways that you can independently change the visuals of the game. I think that may be telling that there is a photo mode in part 2, even though they haven't said it.
Yeah,
You
I'm
know?
sure there is. Like, their last few games have all had photo mode.
Yeah. Uncharted 4 did. Last of Us, the original game had photo mode, or at least the remastered version had
Remastered,
photo
yeah.
mode. Yeah. Lost Legacy had photo mode as well. Yeah.
Like,
So,
like again, just let me reiterate: shout out to Naughty Dog because it's an amazing feat to allow accessibility for all kinds of players to play such an immersive and incredible game like The Last of Us and The Last of Us Part 2. Like it like I am like again, I am blessed. I am capable of playing these games to well, I'm not always good at games, but I can still play them.
right.
But it's just like there are a lot of I've done a lot of reading into it, and it's just like there are a lot of people that just like can't
Yeah.
like and this like I don't know, just like it's incredible the forethought. I'm very impressed with the forethought and the range in which that you can modify this game in order to make it accessible for all kinds of players. Like that to me shows just like another level of care that Naughty Dog has put into The Last of Us Part 2, which I can respect and like that like I'm impressed with. Like I'm very, very impressed with all that. And I'm really looking forward to testing the audio design, and I might get new headphones to play the game if it's that good.
Yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
and in terms of like audio, I have been gaming on Astro 850s for like
Mood, yeah, I feel you.
for like a long time. So like, and like I think these headphones have like something like 5.1 or something like. I mean, I don't know.
Yeah.
But yeah, so it's gonna be cool to see them take advantage of that type of audio array, because I know like a lot of games don't. But yeah, I can't wait for this. It looks great. It's a great thing. It's a great. I hope President as well, like being, arguable to some people, less arguable to others. Like the best developer right now, Naughty Dog. I think that can be said. But for them to go deep on these types of accessibility options, it's I hope sets a really good precedent for other games as well.
Yeah, like a standard.
Yeah, for sure. But speaking of precedent, of course, the original Last of Us set a precedent. Set a pretty high bar. And we just played the last section of it. So this is the second to last episode of our Last of Us stream series, going over the original game as well as the Left Behind DLC, which we will do next week. And it all leads up to Last of Us Part 2. So let's talk about the end of Last of Us. Now, this one was I think the shortest section.
Yeah, it was really short.
I mean, I knew it was gonna be short where Winter left off because I'm like, man, like Winter is like really close to the end. You know, it's like not even like the halfway point of the game. You know, like it's yeah. So this is about at least my stream last night was an hour and 49 minutes. We have but there's a lot of good stuff in this game, and there's a lot of good parts in this part of The Last of Us for sure. But I guess from an overall standpoint, you know, how do you feel that this end bit lives up to the winter section of The Last of Us? Like, do you feel that like it does a good job at like holding its own and giving us a good ending from a general standpoint, or what are your just overall thoughts on this section?
An ending to me is a payoff for going through the story. Like, if you're going just based on gameplay, Winter was far better. But Spring, I feel like Spring was never intended to be like this Uncharted-esque, like grand escapade. You had a tense moment in the hospital and then a somber, quiet payoff at the end, seeing the progression of these two characters in the hospital, and in that final scene walking back to the dam where Tommy is. Like, it was cathartic to see the payoff of the story, to see the payoff, to see what these characters have gone through, and like all the time that the players put into the game, and all the exploration, all the combat, all the deaths, all the figuring out new situations, getting closer with Ellie and Joel. Like, the ending is a soft moment, for lack of a better phrase, a soft, like, still moment after an entire game of tension and like quick motion, and just like one thing after another after another after another. Because we had, on the beginning of the game, we kill Robert, like we break his arm and shoot him in the head in the middle of the street. Then we go to Tess, then we Marlene, and it's just like one thing after another after another after another. And Winter was just the buildup of all that tension in one season, and then Spring, for a good chunk, is just kind of a release, a cathartic release of all that emotion, in my personal opinion.
Right.
So, like, on a purely gameplay standpoint, like, Winter is my favorite, but on a story standpoint, like, it's very, very rewarding to see. Like, you can see a lot of these characters and how much they've progressed in just a few lines in the ending.
Very much so. Yes. Yeah. Like, I love how this end bit shows how close Ellie and Joel have gotten.
Yeah.
Like it is very apparent, and it's not like said outright. It's just in some of like the replies to what certain lines that either of them say. You know, like it's very, very well done. I feel like, for sure. But I would definitely agree with you. Like, other than that like tunnel part where you get your last bit of infected that you are having to deal with, overall, like, the gameplay is kind of, you know, not the focus of it. And like, some people like the hospital scene. I think the hospital scene, we'll get to it, but I don't think it's that great. Actually,
yeah,
I love it narratively, but gameplay wise, I don't think that hospital scene is like that good to, like, as far as I remember it, as far as I remembered it back in the day. Just it just doesn't feel that great. But starting off, we of course end up on the same bridge where Ellie and Joel were at the end of the winter section. We have Ellie, of course, staring at that engraved deer in the wall, reminding her of winter and stuff like that. And they're this. Oh, excuse me. Oh man, I'm yawning. Dang, Kev, you alright? Jesus. we are on our way to the hospital. You know what I'm saying? And throughout this whole first part here, you know, Ellie is very, very quiet and very just like she has a lot of stuff in her mind. You know what I'm saying? And it's presumed to be the stuff from Winter, you know, given that deer and all that. And she makes a little like remark in a little bit here, but we're going through. There's a part where we have to, you know, ask Ellie to be able to get a boost from Joel to get the ladder that's up on the second floor, which actually, you know, I'm not sure. I mean, yeah, whatever. So then do that. Ellie's not answering, whatever. And then Joel asks her again, and then Ellie does inevitably do the boost. And then when she puts it on the ladder, she's distracted by something. And I know when I first played it, I thought it was something bad. Like, right. I thought I was like, oh man, like shoot, like here we go. Like, all right, like do you have smoke bombs ready? Do you have Molotovs ready? You know, let's get prepared for the worst, right? So I remember at least my first time playing, I prepared combatively, put up the ladder, went up, you know, was following her. Ellie keeps saying, no, come on, hurry up, come on, like we like gotta, you know, check this out. And her tone is not scared, it's more of like enthusiastic. So I'm like, okay, wait, is there something good? And then we get, of course, one of the most iconic scenes of all of Last of Us, the giraffe scene. This sweet boy or girl, I don't know, but it's the first time Ellie's seeing a giraffe, and I think touching a animal of that stature for the first time, you know. It is a beautiful moment, though. It's always beautiful because, like, and then you go in through like another like balcony-esque type of scene, and then you get the real like giraffe scene where there's like a bunch of giraffes and they're all just walking in the clearing, you know, presumably from the zoo, I'm pretty sure. As to how they lasted 20 years without dying, I don't know, but they survived.
Offspring.
It's a good point. It's a very good point. But how do you feel about this scene? Because it gets talked about a lot, and there isn't a Last of Us podcast going over the original events of Last of Us without talking about this scene, of course. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, no, I'm just trying to make sure that I'm articulate when I talk about it. Like,
pregnant pause.
It seems no. If I had to describe it in a word, it would be innocence.
Yes.
Like,
yes.
Especially after the course of Winter.
Yeah.
Like, I think the characters and the players both needed like a moment of just innocence. Because a lot of games that I've noticed, or a few games that I've noticed, have done something similar. Like, when something bad's about to happen, you show and like in a moment of innocence and peace, and then you immediately jump into the fray again.
Right.
Like Walking Dead Season 1, Episode 3, in the beginning of the motel, like the kids are playing, Clementine's playing with Duck, like everything's fine, and then you unravel a mystery, and then you're forced to abandon your home.
Right.
Like, and then things get way worse.
Yeah.
Innocence in survival horror games with like younger adults or like even children, like really do show a contrast on everything the game needs to be like engaging on a gameplay standard, like in a gameplay standpoint. And really, it just works really well with it narratively. Like, it's like, oh yeah, this whole game is like, I've been shooting infected, I've been getting blown up by bloaters, like it's Joel and Ellie they've been through it.
Definitely.
So like, and especially in Winter, like you can say is like, yo, what the fuck is just Winter. That's how I can describe Winter.
Yeah, definitely.
And like soon after winter, like not that long after you're done with winter, you get just a moment of innocence between the two characters. Like hardly any dialogue, just like beautiful music in the background, a nice view, and just you can stay there as long as you want and just take a breather
Yeah.
before you're back in the fray.
Yeah. 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 Definitely. Definitely. It's like one of those scenes that serves both the characters that they're trying to narratively bring to life, as well as the player itself, and in terms of like we said, like a break in the storm, you know, like just collect your thoughts, just look back on what you have been through and prepare for, you know, what there is to come, you know, for sure. But I just think it's such a beautiful moment, you know, because it's the first time, like, I feel like we truly see Ellie as a 14-year-old. You know what I'm saying? Like, we saw that especially with Sam, you know.
Yeah.
And we will, I believe, inevitably see that next week with, of course, Riley in the Left Behind DLC, I'm presuming. But seeing it here and like seeing that like child wonder, like it reminds me of when I first watched The Mandalorian episode 1.
Yeah, we had a good talk about.
Oh my god, like I was a 21-year-old, you know what I'm saying? Like that was only back in November, and like I remember being with a few friends who were also big Star Wars fans, watching the first episode together, and one of the group had already seen the episode already. So it was my first time. I'm just looking at it like, yeah, I think like, you know, everything's really cool. They're melding into the original trilogy type of time era with this, you know, like it's 5 years after the fall of the Empire, And I remember, you know, when the screen first shows Baby Yoda, and like I literally like was fighting back tears. I was like, oh my god, like I have never felt like so much child wonder, you know, and so much like, oh my god, this is like a new experience,
right,
that I've never experienced before. You know what I'm saying? Like it that's how I believe like they were trying to capture like Ellie in the scene, like that just unwavering child wonder, you know, with seeing this creature that she had never seen before, you know, and probably thought she never was gonna see ever. You know?
Right, yeah. Like my another Star Wars example is Fallen Order.
Beautiful game.
The beginning of the game where you're you're on the junker, and you climb the rope up right before you get to the very top, and you just see like the backdrop of the environment around you, and the music like ramps up. Like that is what really got me back into Star Wars. Is like, because like it's just like that rush. It's like I remember playing Lego Star Wars as a kid. Like you just get like this rush of like, yo,
like this is wild.
Yeah, it's like I feel like 10 years old again, playing Star Wars for the first time, or like seeing it, or like learning about it, and like it's something that everybody can relate to, which is why I believe this scene hits as hard as it did for a lot of people.
Yeah. But then, of course, like you said, you can stay in this phase, just looking out into the clearing as long as you want. But when you're ready to go, you go to the door. But then there's a little cutscene that plays, which I think is very, very salient. It's Joel, like, for the first time, like, really asking, like, himself, like, do we even have to do this? Like, you know, like, it's interesting, like, seeing this turn, you know, because back at Tommy's, you know, he was very much like, hey, like, no matter what, I would even, you know, send this girl off with Tommy to make sure that she gets delivered to the Fireflies. And him being in this one moment and being like, man, like, do we though? Like, You know, we don't have to.
Like,
Yeah. Sorry. What?
no, no. I was just gonna say, it's like, yo, like we can just like go, like it's fine.
Exactly. Yeah. And like Joel voices that, and then Ellie's the one that is receptive and it's like, no, like all that we've been through. You know what I'm saying? Like it can't be for nothing. And I think she even says like something to the tone of like even everything that I have done
Yeah.
throughout this whole journey, you know, which I think is one of the few times we like get her alluding to the winter scene. I think, you know, in terms of like how she feels about what she did, you know, and that part was especially like ground shaking for me, you know, because I had forgot that dialogue takes place there, you know, and it was a lot to have like a 14-year-old like make the adult decision here.
Yeah.
You know, even though Joel probably didn't want to, you know. Very, very good stuff.
No.
Yeah.
It really, like, this whole thing just really made me excited to play part 2.
Oh, this whole end sequence is like, man, I need to play part 2 right now. I can't wait. But but of course we continue on. We go to what I think is what he called it. What did he call like the tent? I'm trying to see what it's called, the dialogue, but we'll just call it like the tent timeout section, you know, of a quarantined zone. And like Joel talks about how like, you know, he ended up there with Tommy after Sarah dies in the beginning of the game, and you know Joel is being, you know, now answering questions about Sarah as opposed to the contrast that we got with the Tommy section of the game where, you know, Ellie, you are treading on thin ice here, like don't bring up Sarah. And then we get a little bit more exposition in terms of that. But I think what was the most touching moment was Ellie giving Joel the picture of him and Sarah.
Yeah.
That one hurt. I forgot that happens right there.
Yeah. I wasn't even thinking about that when it happened. I was like, yo.
Yeah, that one really, really hurt. I was like, man, wow. Because I remember that being an I mean, I remember us talking about it on the podcast in terms of like, was that an option that the player could choose to either take it or not? But I don't think it was an option now at this point. Like I'm pretty sure it's scripted that Joel doesn't take the picture of him and Sarah. But
yeah,
that was a very, very good scene in my opinion. And then we go into the depths of the tunnel. Not really much to write home about here. It's just some more gameplay segments. So you're taking out some infected. You know, I think it's a very nice like oorah, like you know, your last time with the infected is here in this tunnel. You know, pretty cool. Pretty nice section, but I don't feel like there was anything crazy to talk about here unless you had a particular piece of, you know, fine words that you would like to give to this section. But
I think everything that's needed to be said has been said, and everybody listening who has played the game understands what we're talking about and what we've been feeling. And those who haven't played the game, go play the game.
It's true.
It's on sale right now.
It is. It's probably
$10.
cheap. Oh my god, $10? Are you serious?
Yeah, it's $10, I think.
Game of the year, $10. Let's go.
Yeah, 2013 Game of the Year.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah, so it's a pretty run-of-the-mill section of the game. You know, you're just doing some killing of infected. There's a part where you have to maneuver a ladder to get across some sections. So like there's like cool like environmental puzzling and stuff like that. But nothing too crazy to write home about. They're still on their way, of course, to the St. Mary's Hospital in Salt Lake City, which they're at right now. But then they get into a little predicament where they're jumping on some abandoned bus in the middle of a waterway, and of course Ellie can't swim. The bus goes loose. Joel falls in. Ellie tries to save Joel, and inevitably does. Lets him escape. But then Ellie gets rushed into the water and becomes unconscious. Fireflies come over. They're like, "Hey, yo, what it do?" Honestly, bro, this might be very dark, right? So forgive me, but the way those fireflies were acting towards Joel and Ellie seemed a little bit close to home to what we've seen this past week. That's all I'm gonna say there. Like I was like, huh. I was like, man, I guess they obviously wasn't the original intention. This game coming out in 2013, but man, it did seem to resemble, some current events. But I digress.
Well, that's what good writing does. It's like it lets you, like, it's timeless. Like, you can see like aspects. Like, it's like, hey, yeah, this is outdated, this is dumb kind of deal. Or it's like, hey, this still has an impact.
Right.
Like, you can still resonate, and you can still, like, feel the story around you, like, the weight of it, like, throughout different stages of your life and years after the game releases. Like, that's what good writing does.
Right. I agree. But Joel is trying to do some CCC on Ellie, continuous chest compressions. Yes, I know that by heart. Unfortunately, I don't know how, but I do. But then they headbutt Joel, knock him out. Joel wakes up with Marlene in a medical bed, and I love how, like, Joel's first instinct to ask is like, where is Ellie?
Yeah.
Where is she? And to Joel's happiness, Ellie is being taken care of, and then Marlene says being prepped for surgery. And that's when we get the news that due to the condition of I almost said coronavirus. Wow. Of the cordyceps virus. It's a fungus that grows throughout the brain. So they're essentially telling Joel that, yeah, we're going to have to take out Ellie's brain, thus we'll kill her to reverse engineer a vaccine because she's immune to the infection. And I wish that this part I could play again without knowing the whole story, because like I would have loved to experience that turn again of being like, oh wait, no, like they can't just like do like a simple like blood vaccine. Right. Which honestly makes a lot of sense, because if you were to imagine that they could have just used Ellie's blood to redo a vaccine, why didn't Marlene just siphon some blood from Ellie and just be on her way?
Siphon? Like she's a car?
I don't know why I said siphon. I don't know. Siphon your blood, people. Siphon your blood.
There's probably not enough genetic material in blood, because that would imply that the virus is in blood cells.
That's a very... You see, this is why I have you on the show. You're very, very intelligent. Yeah. You're very intelligent.
This is beyond my realm of knowledge. It's just like the concept of it growing on the brain also seems a little weird, because it's like there's not a lot of room between the mushy ball that we call a brain and the skull.
Is there a lot like innards, well,
the
innards of the brain?
Well, the brain is just a soft meatball, if you want to break it down like that.
Precisely.
But there's enough room for the brain to move, like if you were to fall, but like to still be protected by the skull, because if it's too close, it adds too much pressure. If it's too far, it increases room for concussion. But if something were to grow on the brain, then it would leave Ellie vulnerable to concussions and brain damage with like injury. But we haven't seen that. So it's like, yo, like, why couldn't you just like get it from the wrist, like where it was initially?
Oh my
growing?
God! Wow. Wait, just cut a little bit in my wrist.
Yeah, just like
and just take it across the country. Why do I have to go?
well, then no. Well, there's probably like you have to preserve the sample.
Well, yeah. I mean, I'm just playing devil's advocate there. Like, I
Yeah,
was playing,
no.
yeah.
With this being 20 years after a pandemic that destroyed the world, like I'm sure they don't have the medical equipment required to carry a piece of zombie meat.
A piece of cutlery all the way,
Yeah, to all the
across.
way, across the country,
That's a very good point.
because the cells would die too quickly. Like I, it's a rapid, like from what the game described, it seemed like a rapid, like rapid cell division, which means that rapid cell death.
Mm. Dang it,
Uh,
Marley. Why are you so medically smart? Jeez.
I'm probably wrong, but I don't know. Like I said, this is not my realm of knowledge, so I could be wrong. But please educate me.
Oh, this is
Like,
the furthest thing from my profession, if I may.
yeah. So it's I would assume that they needed a live sample. So it's like I'm sure it was gestating in her wrist. Like it had to be. Like I'm like it wouldn't be that fucked up if it wasn't like still there somehow. So, but they need drama. There needed to be some drama.
It's a good point. Very, very good
It's
point.
like, hey, give me your wrist. That's the end of the game.
Like, dun, 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 dun,
Yeah,
dun. The end
that's it.
song.
Yeah, and it's just like, yeah, no sequel. We good.
Naughty Dog paw. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But Marlene lays the smack on Joel. Goes, hey, look, and Marlene. I love how Marlene automatically goes into like, I will kill you mode to Joel.
Yeah.
Which I don't know if it's like Marlene sees the attachment that Joel has garnered with Ellie. I don't know if like that's the main reason, or what, or maybe like she is cautious of Joel because she knows what Joel's capable of, like in the beginning of the game when they're going after, oh my god. Well, I guess when they're escaping the military,
Right.
I guess. Wait, Marlene was there, right? No, she wasn't. I remember there being a small section where Marlene was present during combat. So maybe like she remembers Joel and how good and capable he is at combat. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, like she's intimidated by him.
Oh, definitely, yeah, for sure. So then, Joel is being escorted by a guard to a different part of the facility, I believe. And he's given orders through Marlene that, hey, if he tries anything, feel free to, Millie rock him into the next realm, And then Joel pulls a slick move, takes him out. And then we go into, all right, we're going to kill everyone mode.
Yeah.
And Joel proceeds to kill everyone in the hospital. No survivors around. So this is this is the part that like I didn't love. I think that there could have been a better way to execute this. Like I would have loved if it was more. I mean, honestly, I don't know if you have to kill everyone. Is there a way you can sneak past everyone? I don't think you can.
You have to kill the guards. You don't have to kill all the. You don't have to kill 2 of 3 doctors.
You don't have to kill 2 or 3 doctors. Interesting.
Yeah, just the guy that charges you with the scalpel.
Yeah, I just killed all the doctors.
Damn.
Well, I mean, I killed everyone, but I think
Rip and tear.
Rip and tear. I know precisely, but I think I would have liked it if it was a little bit more of like a stealthier operation, But granted, Joel's style isn't necessarily stealth.
No.
He's definitely like we have talked about, like a brute force. So I guess it makes more sense to have him just be ruthless and kill everyone. And what's heartbreaking too is that I don't know if it's the exact music. It might be, but when you go finally into the operating room to rescue Ellie, like I think it's the same music is playing when Joel is picking up Sarah when Sarah's dead.
Yeah.
Like, and he calls her baby girl and stuff like that. Like it's super sad, But we're gonna have a much bigger conversation probably at the end of this podcast about the moral ethics of this the not decision from a player perspective, but the choice of Joel to do this. But long story short, Joel grabs Ellie, and you have to run to the elevator to be able to escape. You're stopped by Tess. Tess is trying to talk you out of it, saying, "Hey, like
Marlene.
Marlene. Damn, excuse me, Marlene. Sorry,
a force ghost.
R.I.P. Tess comes in the background as a force ghost. You'd love to see it. Marlene is trying to talk Joel out of it, being like, "Hey, listen, like you can still do the right thing here. It's all good. I'm laying down my weapon. Just you can still save the world, and let us create a vaccine." But then we have the now recreated scene in The Last of Us Part 2 from some clips we've gotten via the state of play of Joel driving away and Ellie's in the back seat. Joel says, "I'm taking you home," all that good stuff. And then we hear the lie that Joel tells Ellie.
Yes.
As to what happened, And I guess, correct me if I'm wrong here, because I'm just looking over the gameplay, but I'm gonna do it in like faster of a time. So I guess what he tells her is that they found the Fireflies, but there were other candidates that were also immune to the virus, dozens of them, and so they already tried and nothing was working, so they stopped trying to find the vaccine, which I think is what the gist of what Joel told Ellie is a lie.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, like
yeah.
And so I would have I guess it makes sense as to why Ellie would have the gown on, I guess.
Well, it's like, yeah, they were gonna kill you anyway, so yeah.
Huh. Yeah, I suppose. Which
would kind of justify all of the Fireflies in this hospital are dead.
Wait, what'd you say?
It's like, oh yeah, they tried the vaccine with like dozens of other people, didn't work. They killed them, didn't work, and they were gonna kill you, and I stopped them.
Oh, I guess that line makes sense. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
I see. Right. To explain the gown. Right.
Yeah.
So then Marlene gets double dead by Joel, refusing Marlene's request to leave her alive, because Joel says that no, you would just come after her again.
Yeah.
And Marlene is dead this time.
Yeah, like gone.
Yep.
Double tap.
Double tap. And then we get to the last bit of the game where we are walking towards Jackson. What I loved is that we get a similar view of Jackson that we have gotten in early promotional gameplay for Last of Us Part 2. Like overlooking the town from like a higher vantage point. Like it was cool that we like got that scene reflected in the original Last of Us as well. But they're having small talk. They are clearly going back to Tommy's to, I assume, just live a somewhat normal life. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And then we have the last cutscene here, where Ellie explains a little bit of Riley backstory, which we will see in the Left Behind DLC. Can't wait to experience that next week. But essentially, I believe what Ellie was trying to get at is survivor's guilt.
Yeah.
In terms of like Joel thinks that she's sad about everyone dying around her when she's actually sad about living when everyone is dying around her.
Yeah.
Yeah, like that's what Ellie was trying to vocalize, but just Joel just never got the grasp of, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And then Ellie goes, "Swear to me," and then
that was such a good line.
And then goes, "Swear to me that everything you said about the Fireflies is true." And then Joel, stops for a little bit and then says, "I swear." And that is, of course, the end to The Last of Us. And we get that beautiful guitar from Gustavo Santaolalla to end the game. And here we are. It's over. It's a wrap. Well, not yet. We have Left Behind next week. But
yeah, we have a DLC.
It's a wrap for the main game.
Yes.
So overall, thoughts on the ending?
Fantastic.
I like that a lot too.
Yeah, leaves a lot of room for part 2 to expand on, which I'm excited to see.
Yeah, Yeah.
Also, to go back on the virus topic for one quick second after you're done talking about your thoughts on the ending.
Mm-hmm. Oh,
So
okay. Wait, do you want me to talk
after
about the ending?
your thoughts, yes, after your thoughts.
Oh, okay. I just think it's a very, very salient point, and I mean, salient ending, and I love this ending because I think it, like what you said, it could lead to a bunch of different ways of a sequel being made, right? And of course, a sequel was going to be made when you saw the sales figures of the original Last of Us. Like that's a given, right? But
Mhm.
it would have been also cool if like this was the Last of Us and this was it, because I think the ending could either have a nice closed chapter and that is the story and that's it, or it could have continued. So I do like how this ending could have served both features of the franchise of The Last of Us, but I just think it's a great ending. It says a lot also in there, like in terms of like, does Ellie even believe him? And at least off of like facial gestures, I don't think that she does.
Yeah.
Like I think Ellie's smarter than that to see that Joel is lying. And it's great. It's great. I love the ending. I love it.
Hmm.
But what are your thoughts on the affected?
It's kind of a real thing.
What?
Like, cordyceps subsessilis
Okay.
are no, that's not the right one. But the way that they they got the idea for the infected in humans is because this actually happens in ants.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. So I was doing like I don't know, like just doing some thinking on on the whole surgery thing. It's like maybe the Fireflies really didn't have an idea what they were doing
Hmm.
because this is all like experimental. It's all theoretical. So it's like maybe Joel had a point.
I mean, there is a point to be made that I think this will inevitably then like this whole end conversation will probably bleed into the ultimate question of Last of Us, and that is like, is Joel a good or bad person at the end of the game? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But that is a valiant point here. That like if Ellie was the only immune that has been discovered after 20 years, right? And they're gonna wager their bets on cutting open her brain for the hope of being able to manufacture a vaccine. And in the process of holding on to that chance, they have to, not even like holding off, but like also to like take that chance, they have to kill a 14-year-old girl, you
Yeah.
know? Like, I could see Joel being like, yo, like, you can't do this.
It's like you guys don't know what you're doing.
You have no idea what you're doing. Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah. So that is definitely, I feel like, a great way to defend Joel in his actions for sure. You know. But then the flip side of that, of course, is that man, like, what if they knew what they were doing? You know.
But yeah, the question also arises like I don't remember if this was in game or not, but it's like, is this a world worth saving?
Mm.
Because like we've seen everything throughout the game, like people pretending to be injured and the cannibals and the rapists. It's like even if you remove the threat of the of the infected have really never been the main danger throughout The Last of Us. Like when I think, oh, this enemy is going to like this is going to be a tough encounter, it's never usually with infected.
Interesting. Interesting.
The most dangerous game is man.
And then also you gotta think too, like there's it's 20 years after. Like that's a
Yeah.
very good point too. Like what is really left? And like obviously what's left is the people that are still in this world.
Yes.
That like have been fighting to survive, and like they hopefully don't have to fight to survive anymore. But the vaccine's only gonna stop other people from getting the infection. And then we're looking at, how big is the population at this point? You know what I'm saying? And like, you still got to deal with the other infected out there. So you're just going to die if you try and like lead on a a like, year-long expedition, to kill every infected in America, or
Right.
like the world to a degree also, you know what I'm saying? Like, not even just talking about the US, but like that would inevitably kill people as well in that process, hypothetically speaking, if they were to create a vaccine through Ellie and do all this and stuff like that. But that's a very good point. Like there's not really a lot to save at this point, but you can save the one life that you have right here in front of you, this 14-year-old girl.
Yeah. Like, Joel's not willing to put up that gamble.
Yeah. Like, at the end of the day, I don't know. Like, I lean a little bit. It's a very hard question, right? And do you have a definitive answer to that question? Like, in your own personal opinion?
Like, if I were in the situation?
Like, just looking at Joel, right? Like, at the end of the game, like, do you think Joel is a good person based off of his actions, or a bad person based off of his actions?
Joel is a selfish person.
Yeah, that's what.
But in a world like this, does that make what does it mean to be a good person in an apocalypse?
Right. I think if you remove and strip everything, I think making the call to create a vaccine to hopefully improve the world status, for the human race, I think most people would agree that would be the good decision for humanity, right? But it's tough. Like, I lean ever so slightly towards the bad, I think.
Yeah.
I think is where I lean a little bit more towards, because like you're right, like off of that selfish act, instead of being selfless.
There were also some audio logs around. They're like, hey, like is this gonna work?
Yeah, and those recorders, as I said before during the winter section last episode, those recorders also super faint for me. Could barely hear them in game. Don't know what's going on. I don't understand. But I have looked into those in the past, and like I do know that like that's where we get the main thing of like, all right, this might not work. But also another thing that I think could have been a interesting angle was that why aren't, now granted, okay, Ellie's 14 years old, right?
Right.
But I think you give a 14-year-old the agency to make the decision to sacrifice her life for the potentiality of a vaccine.
Right.
Because they weren't going to give Ellie that choice.
Yeah, no.
Like,
they lied to her. It was a lie of omission.
Yeah. 100%. Yeah. Wait, what?
You got a lie of omission.
A lie of omission.
A lie of omission is basically just you don't tell everybody, or you don't tell somebody everything that's going to happen with like what you do. It's like kind of like Shazam, Billy Batson. A specific example that I can remember with this phrase used directly is that he was called into question because they're like, yo, you're 10 years old. And Billy's like, I never lied to you. I never said I wasn't 10. It's like, yeah, but that's a lie of omission. You didn't tell us everything going on, so you still lied to us by holding out important pieces of information.
I see what you mean. Yeah, definitely. Yeah, and like again, I would love to hear the discussion down in the comment section below. Like, what does everyone think of this ending? Like, because it is.
Are comments not disabled?
Oh, dang it, they are. Let us know in the Discord or something like that. I don't know. Yeah. Put it somewhere down there. But no, like it's a. I feel like a very valid question to ask. Like, is Joel the bad guy or the good guy at the end of the day? I think if you're looking at it from a personal reason, I don't think that he's a bad person to a degree. Because now, of course, Joel isn't Ellie's father, but like if it was a father-daughter dynamic, no one would question. I feel like there'd be less of a question if Ellie was his daughter.
Yeah.
Because that's just a father trying to save his daughter. You know what I'm saying? But with them not being familially tied, and the world's livelihood at stake here, and looking at it from like a personal standpoint, I think if you look at it from like a world universe standpoint, then yeah, Joel could be looked at as the bad guy here by not saving humanity, but it could be looked at as the good guy from a personal standpoint. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. It's like the lines between family really do, like, people's justifications vary significantly whether or not it's like, are you blood related? But that doesn't always that doesn't always mean that you're like family, because these two act like father and daughter.
Yeah.
Like the way that they talk, the way that they've interacted, just because they're like in my own personal experience, like I have someone in my life that is not blood related to me, but I would still call them my child. Like I still would feel comfortable referring to them as my own.
Right.
So I understand Joel's perspective on that, because when you have something like that, you would give everything and anything to defend it.
Yes. Yep. Long story short, The Last of Us is an incredible game.
Yeah.
It is.
Like,
yeah. It holds up narratively speaking. Some people, think that the gameplay doesn't hold up that well and the graphics don't, which, can definitely be argued. But I feel like narratively speaking, it definitely holds up, and it's a must play. I feel like for all gamers,
like just for the time frame, like a lot of games around 2013 were a little stiff. Like,
yeah.
So graphically, like, it still holds up. It's definitely aged, but that's also because of processing power, computer power. Moore's law states that computer power doubles every 18 months. So you put that over a course of 7 years, and of course you're going to get significant leaps and bounds of graphical improvement.
Yeah.
And the ability to create more detail in a game using less.
Mm-hmm.
So you can definitely see that it's like, it doesn't look as good as games right now, but that's also not a fair comparison.
Yep. 100%.
Like, there are games in that day and age, like 2011, 2013, that look ugly for that time frame. Like, I love Deus Ex Human Revolution. The game doesn't look great.
Talk that talk.
Yeah, gameplay and story are both phenomenal, but graphically it's not great, like, comparatively, especially to today. But that doesn't mean that it doesn't hold up.
Right.
Yeah, but holding up is subjective. Like, there's no way to objectively argue that. But yeah. I personally feel as if it is held up very well.
I agree. The Last of Us is incredible. That just
play it if you haven't.
Oh, you gotta play it. And trust me, playing through this whole game, yo. Ooh, I can't wait to play part 2, man. Oh, yeah, it's so close. It's hopefully, fingers crossed, knock on wood, like it's gonna come 2 weeks from now. Let's get it. Let's go. Cannot wait. But that has concluded the Last of Us main story, Road to Part 2 episodes. About it. So
that is about it.
There we go. Arachknight, where can the people find you?
You can find me on the PlayStation Source Discord under the same name. I'm very active there, along with other members of the community. We talk every day about all things PlayStation, gaming, everything and anything you could want to talk about. Like, we're all there. We're a very tight-knit community, and we'd love to hear from you guys. You can find me on Twitter at Orly_Macias, which will be in the description.
I will be talking video games, comic books, movies. Like I love to hear from the listeners. Like I love seeing people talk about games or like at me or follow me and they post screenshots or whatever. Like they're passionate about these kinds of topics, and that's what I like to see. I love talking and engaging with the community on these kinds of things. So feel free to follow me there. And that is about it.
Beautiful. Of course, links below in the description to all these links on Twitter and all that good stuff, as well as the Discord link down below in the description. Join that. Just takes 2 clicks and you're there. As well as our Twitter at PSRsVids and our Anchor link if you want to listen to our long form content in podcast format. That, of course, being Road to Part 2 and a multitude of other podcast series that may continue here in a few weeks. So yeah, thank you all for coming out. Thank you all for supporting Road to Part 2, as well as supporting the channel. Leave a like on the video if you enjoyed that, as well as stay subscribed to PlayStation Source to keep up with the latest and greatest and PlayStation. Next week, we are covering Left Behind DLC as we push on the last push until
Part 2, yeah.
Until The Last of Us Part 2. Let's go. So definitely next week, we're going to be talking about embargo and how everyone felt about the game from a review standpoint, Metacritic, and I think one of our bets also helms on Metacritic score too. So I'll go back and we'll take a look at that, and that will be talked about on the show. And thank you for coming out. Thank you for the support. What's my outro?
And as always,
there we go. And as always, greatness
awaits.
I almost said PlayStation awaits, bro. I am not here today. Wow. And as always, greatness awaits. Later, guys.
Have a good night, guys.